Mr. Howard Reed.
Hello there.
From Big Howard, Little Howard.
Yes.
Thank you very much. A handshake at the beginning as well as at the end.
Very formal.
It's
I like the way you work. Yeah.
It's a formal engagement at the picnic at the Fringe. Thanks very much for coming. How is the Fringe going for you thus far?
It's going lovely. I'm having lovely shows, but I'm doing. I usually do shows with animation where all the voices are pre-recorded, and so I actually don't have to talk much. But one of my shows, I'm voicing all the animations live, and they're all quite one of them talks like that, and it turns out it's not very good for your throat every night of a month. So yeah, my voice is getting slowly deeper and deeper. So I wish my shows were sexier, and then I'm getting quite a sexy voice, but in a children's show that's not necessarily a boon.
So this show where you're doing it all live is your adult show?
Yes, that's called Howard Reed Hide and Speak, and the idea is I've developed a new way of doing animation live, which I'm aware no one else does animation live, but I've developed a new way of doing it because I was bored with the way I was doing it before. And Little Howard can now do live stand-up on his own and interact with the audience. So he does stand-up in my adult show, but also in my kids' show now. Little Howard MCs the whole thing. He goes on, asks if any birthdays in, talks to people in the audience, and which is lovely. But kids couldn't give a monkeys about that because it doesn't occur to kids that Little Howard wouldn't be able to talk back to them, which is brilliant. But the parents are thinking, how's he doing that? That's amazing. But it adds another level because it means that especially with smaller kids, it's all about interacting. It's all about joining in and being part of the thing. They quite often don't understand the story, the really little ones. They don't understand some of the jokes. But if they get to shout out and they get to talk to Little Howard, then that's them engaged for the whole hour.
So with the kids show, are you very definitely working on two levels? Have you always got that in your mind?
I don't think of it as that. I think of it as a joke is a joke and funny is funny. And so long as everyone knows what the joke, everyone knows all the references you're making, then everyone will find it funny. And a lot of the jokes are quite physical, and there's a joke about a slug in the toilet, which is lovely because the adults get it immediately and the kids slowly get it, and the laugh goes around the room. It's a joke about poo. And so there are a few jokes which are about adult things that are sort of thrown in over the top that the adults get and the kids don't. But I try and do as many jokes as possible for everyone. And I hit myself in the head with a rubber frying pan.
So have you built up a kind of repertoire of things that work for both adults and kids?
Yeah, I mean the adult show is based on because I started off doing stand-up, just straight stand-up for adults, and then I started using the animation stuff in for adult shows. But because there was cartoons in my shows, people always tried to bring their kids, and so eventually I thought, well, I'll see if I can just take the swear words out and try that, and that went really well, and so that took off, and we did telly stuff with that, and whilst developing live family shows, I developed loads of techniques that eventually, when I got the time, I thought this would work really lovely in an adult show, and so including because Little Howard used to be a database of responses so the audience can talk to it, but it was a database of responses, and that's based on the fact most adult audiences you can second guess what they're going to ask.
Okay. Yeah.
But I tried that with kids, and you can't second guess what kids are going to ask because kids have just their minds aren't tacked down yet. They're sort of pinging all over the place, and so one of the first times I did like a question and answer with Little Howard, which usually works fine with adults because they always ask the same thing. Adults always ask Little Howard, do you have a girlfriend, for some reason. It's not necessarily what you think, but in an audience, the first person who shouts out will 50-50 will ask, do you have a girlfriend? And so I press the thing, and it's all previously it was all pre-recorded responses, and so it's kind of mechanised improvisation. But with kids, you actually have to improvise because the first time I did that, a kid asked, what does Little Howard's hair feel like? And so I had to pick the kid up and hold him up, and they touched the screen, and she turned around to him and said, it's soft, and then went and sat down. So I had to develop a way that if I wanted to do improvised stuff with them, I had to be able to genuinely do it live. And with kids, when I do it, I'm behind I'm hidden. In my adult show, I'm on stage. We lower the lights so the focus is on, but so they can see what I'm doing, and I'm there with the games controller talking live. So they don't know how I'm doing it still, but they can see that they can see all the wires if there are what wires there are, and so they're not thinking. So as soon as they can, they're forgetting what the question why and just enjoying the jokes.
So how did you? So why did you decide on the animation thing? Because no one else does anything really even close to what you're doing.
Well, I initially I was a full-time stand-up, and I was developing a website, and I got it was like in the late 90s, late 90s, and all the templates for websites were called Jazzy, and contemporary, and they looked awful. And so I deleted everything and drew everything with a mouse. And so I had a sort of scrawled, hand-drawn website, which lots of people really liked. And then I started doing this. I got hold of a comic called Anvil Springsteen, who's based up here, gave me a copy of Flash. He was doing animation, and I started learning animation, and it happened to be naturally quite good at it. And I won the BBC New Comedy Award for animation in 2001, and then got commissioned to make lots of shorts and stuff like that. And so I had a sort of an animation career that was taken off, but I wanted it to be up, but the live stuff is what I cared about. And so I thought, can I combine the two? And in my first show, Little Howard it appeared a couple of times and did the live stand-up thing, the database thing, and that really took off, got rave reviews. And I got one review from Kate Copstick, which is a 2-star review, saying that Little Howard's brilliant, Big Howard's rubbish, he should be taken out of it. And of course I forgot all the 5 and 4-star reviews that I got from everyone else and just focused on that one.
Are you in any way a slave to the animation now? You can't do anything that isn't?
No, I can do things that aren't, but it's sort of I've done stand-up shows. I can do it, but it would just take a lot of retraining. It's like a career change later in life. And also because no one else does it, it's sort of why not?
Why not?
Because I can, and also because I'm developing new ways of doing it and reinventing it. So, and now I can. The main restriction of it was that I was sort of stuck with the next clip. That basically, when a show got derailed or something happened in the room, I'd have to deal with it, and then we'd have to go back to the story, and I'd click Little Howard's next line. But now I can improvise, and I can change the order of things, and I can improvise with the audience. So it's much more like pure stand-up than it was when it used to be much more theatrical. It had to have a story, and it was me setting up the jokes and Little Howard doing the punchlines, and now it's me doing all of it.
Fabulous. Just tell me what your shows are, where they are.
They are Little Howard's Big Show for Kids, which is at 2:45 in the Cow Barn, but lots of adults coming to that as well. Rich Hawker came the other day, and lots of comics are bringing their kids. So there's lots of jokes for adults in there anyway, if you want to do that. Or at 9:30 in the dining room in the Gilded Moon, that's Howard Read Hide and Speak, which is live cartoons doing stand-up live.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
So much.